Hi there, Maggie here again, and latest episode of Thoughts from a Changing Mind. It's been a little while since I did the last video, so I hope you're all doing well. You had a good Thanksgiving. Um, You'll recall at the end of the last video I said that I was starting to dip my toe into the world of dating and relationships and so on, and that's going to be the next big path that I've got to follow. Part of my experience in that trip was a follow-up to what I've been talking about before about using correct pronouns and how to approach it and everything else. And when I was there, met with a very young, very nice lady and her daughter, and had a lovely time. And I must thank them very much for their hospitality and their kindness and graciousness. The one thing that was interesting was, just as with me, I try and present as best I can as a female, but my voice is still very much more masculine. And the lady that I was going to visit is in a similar situation. And despite my obviously investment in me wanting to be so much feminine and understanding how much she wanted to be feminine and everything surrounding that, it was quite a shock to me how my mind kept overriding what I wanted to do and felt was right to do. And I found myself on several occasions using the incorrect pronoun for her, and I felt terrible because I know how important it is to me. So it was obviously just as important to her, and yet someone like me, who should know better, was still tripping up, and her daughter was still having the same problems. And she dealt with it with incredible grace and very kind, and it didn't interfere too much in my time while I was there. But I wanted to raise it as an example of, it's not easy for people just to flick a switch in their head and do what we want them to do to suit ourselves. I mean, there's no doubt that it can cause a lot of hurt if the wrong pronoun is used. But if I find it difficult to detach my brain from the process and still get it wrong, then someone who's not invested in the situation, who has no real background in dealing with people like us, it's even more difficult. And I just wanted to use that as an example to say again that we have to be a little bit kind and understanding for people who get it wrong, because they may be trying really hard, but it is very difficult to, like I say, just flick a switch and get it right on all times. So I just thought I would use that example because, like I said, I got it wrong and I felt terrible about it. But if I can get it wrong, then I'm sure someone who's just, come across us for the first time is very likely to get it wrong. So just a cautionary tale, just be a little bit more understanding and a little less quick to punish or judge someone who gets it wrong. What I really wanted to go into, though, in a little bit more depth tonight is, I'm at the stage where, as part of my transition, I've done quite a lot of work on myself, and some of that is linked to my transition. A lot of it I needed to do anyway, and I think we touched on last time about how important it is to realize your inner beauty. And once you've been able to do that and learn to love yourself, that gives you so much more confidence and a firm base from which to go on and maybe try and be a little bit more adventurous and a little bit more content and happy. But what I wanted to cover really was that just because I've changed my gender, it doesn't necessarily mean I've changed my sexuality. And those in the know fully appreciate that the two subjects are completely separate. But obviously there is that normal link between the two. And I've been, questioning in my mind as to whether, what will change, if anything, with regard to my sexuality once I get to the point where I'm being more proactive with wanting to have some sort of relationship. And like I say, I'm building now from the space of having worked on myself a little bit, that I now want to start thinking about friendships and relationships from there on. But it raises a lot of questions because, for example, I want to feel female. I want to be female. I want to be treated as female. And if it gets to the point where things are getting more serious and things happen, should we say, where you get a little bit more excited, it'll then generate a response which, in my history and by its nature, could be regarded as more masculine. So then, how do I deal with that? What will happen? Will it be that the situation and the emotion and the love and the passion that's associated with that experience will overtake it all and it won't be an issue? Or, as I've just mentioned about your brain not being able to change gears quickly, will it be a huge barrier when all of a sudden I'll just get it into my head that, oh my God, look, something masculine's happening when I want to feel so feminine, and it'll just ruin the whole thing? I don't know. I don't know how that'll work. I know that when I went to meet the lady a little while back, as I say, she's the same as myself, a trans female. It was fine and it was lovely, but at a certain point I started to feel a little uncomfortable. Now that might just be, natural at first with being with someone different, and that over time that will ease off and it won't be a problem. But is that just the start of that barrier coming up? If so, does that mean then that I have to look at following what has been my sexuality up to now, which is to date with cisgender women? And if so, how many women like that are out there who would be willing to have a relationship with me and love me, particularly as I'm transitioning to who knows where? Does that then limit my dating possibilities? Does it mean that I will never find the love that I would like to have and I've always wanted in my life? Also, I've talked to a lot of people who've said that if they've been on hormones for a while, that just the change in your chemical balance changes your desires. And I obviously have to keep an open mind about that. I've also heard that as you present more as a female, and maybe if your voice changes a bit more, if then cisgender males, treat you more like a female, it then changes your opinion of them because you're being treated as a female rather than as a fellow male. So that's all possible. So there is nothing from my experience up to the point where I started my transition that I know for sure is going to carry over into relationships and friendships and intimacy going forward. It is all up for grabs. It's all possible that it'll change. And I have no idea what's going to happen, how I feel, and how I deal with it. That would have been bad enough beforehand, and I've had, unfortunately, too many failed relationships where, in my desperation to be wanted, to be loved, and get attention, that not based on a love of myself, it's all just gone horribly wrong. Now I've done this work, so I have a more healthy love of myself and confidence in myself, but I'm not deluding myself into thinking that there are times when I'm going to probably find it hard not to deal with the disappointment or the fear or the not knowing about where I am or what's going to happen or what to do. So it's all a little daunting. It's a little exciting too. It's not going to let it put me off, but I have to be careful to do this right. I've gone onto various websites just to get to know people and to start talking to them, but unfortunately, as people are probably aware, a lot of them are full of people who are out just to scam you, or who are just basically out there for one thing and not an actual proper relationship. So it takes a lot of hard work to get to talk and meet people who are genuine. And like I say, I have that worry that having done that work is then what happens when I actually do meet them, and it'd be no fault of theirs. Part of sharing all this with you is that I am positive there are people out there who struggle with exactly the same questions and wonder, is this right? Is this normal? Does anyone else feel that way? What do I do? The main reason for saying this now, and as with all these videos, is to try and help people understand that there are loads of people out there who feel exactly the same way or similar way, and hopefully there are people out there who will be able to help, if not give you answers, at least guide you on your way to finding answers. And even if they can't do that, just giving you support and affirmation and love when you most need it, it's there if you look for it. And sometimes it's there even when you don't look for it. It'll turn up when you least expect it. So, as I say, I'm sharing this with you to give you an understanding of that you're not alone. These thoughts you may or may not have are quite natural, quite normal. They're your thoughts. You have every right to them. And you will figure it out. Just don't panic. Don't rush into anything. And if necessary, get the help and advice that will guide you to where you want to be. And be prepared for the fact that where you think you want to be may completely change. But don't be scared of that, because change is sometimes exciting. If you've got somewhere safe to fall back on, and now I'm beginning to realize that that safe place to fall back on is yourself, is inside you. If you can hold on to that beauty, that self-love, that knowledge of self-worth, you can go on and be a little adventurous and it'll all be fine. So anyway, I think that'll do for now, but I hope, if I don't speak to you before, that you have a wonderful holiday season and Christmas. Keep safe, keep warm, drive safe on the roads. I hope you get plenty of love from all your loved ones, and just don't forget to love yourself. You are beautiful, you've got every right to be exactly who you are, and celebrate that if you can't celebrate anything else this holiday season, okay? So bye for now, people. Big hugs as always. Bye.